So 4 tips that I used, which got me exponentially better results with cold calling. I'm gonna go through them all. The first one is following up properly. So having a system, having a way of tracking prospects who are interested, not interested, whatever, so you can consistently follow up on these leads that you're booking in. When you're making cold calls, you're gonna get a hell of a lot of people that are interested, but for whatever reason, you just can't overcome the objections. They're still interested. You don't want to waste the lead. You want to still follow up on them. You want to put them into a system which enables you to keep reaching out and keep nurturing them and having them in the pipeline so you can book them in at the stage that they're actually ready to book in. So you're going to have that for people that are interested, but you're also going to have that for people that are not interested. So it's really, really important that you keep a CRM and you keep a track. You keep track of everyone who's interested, not interested, and basically anyone that you've called you want to keep track of. So you can either reach out to them again at a later date so you're not wasting the lead, or following up when you get a not interested or a positive response. And you just want to keep hammering them because you want to have a system which enables you to not let any lead fall out of the pipeline that you've contacted. It's really, really important. The majority of calls that I book come from, yes, speaking to people on the phone, but there's also a huge percentage that come from people that don't book in directly from the phone. They come from people that ask me to call them again, or maybe can't book in right now because they don't know their exact availability, so I have to call them back later and book them in. If I didn't have a system that consistently tracked prospects who wanted to be called back at a later date, I needed to call them back in a few days, or prospects that said now's not the right time. If I didn't have a system that logged every call I made in the way that I do, I would book probably about 30% less calls that I book at the moment. So it's extremely important to have that in place. The next one is to listen back to your calls. I never used to do that. When you're making cold calls, whether you do that on your phone, whether you do that on your computer, make sure that every day, ideally, you make cold calls. Try and record yourself do at least 5 cold calls. So if you're doing it on your laptop or something like that, your computer, just put your phone down, press record on your phone, and then get like I said, every day, try and record like 5 calls or something like that. And at the end of every day, when you finish cold calling, listen back to how you sound on the phone, because as humans, like the way we speak and the way we hear ourselves sounds extremely different to when we actually listen to how our voice sounds when it's being recorded. So make sure you're actually listening to how you're presenting your script, because tonality is a huge, huge part of cold calling, as you've seen me ramble about in a lot of other cold calling videos that I've done. It's extremely important. So you want to be keeping tabs on that. You want to be actually getting feedback on what you're saying, making sure you're actually listening back to what you're saying, and then you can make improvements from there based on how you're coming across. You want to come across as confident, but not too like salesy and overconfident. You want to come across as like confident and building authority, but you don't want to be like that like hypey salesman guy when you're coming across. So enthusiastic, but not too much. The third one is just to track and improve religiously. So make sure you're tracking your metrics to the absolute T. So know for every 100 dials that I make, like this is likely what I'm gonna get as a positive response rate on this script. This is my appointment booking rate, this is my pickup rate, etc. You wanna know those numbers, and the only way you can get those numbers is by tracking in the first place and making sure that you're logging every single call that you make. So that's why it's good to make like a round number of dials. So you know every time you make like 100 dials, you can log the numbers really easily in your tracking sheet. And then you can just map the metrics really easily. So every time you get a pickup, make a note of that. Every time you get a positive response, make a note of that. Again, this is why having a system to track every call that you make in the form of a CRM and a follow-up system is so important, because then you're not having to worry about tracking properly or going back and listening to all the calls you've made just so you can track your metrics. You do it effortlessly, and you can do it through the CRM, and you can combine that with a power dialer as well and just make it really, really effortless. The fourth and final one that I want to cover that honestly got me so much better results, it's crazy, was using the script as a guide. So when you're using the script, like prospects are going to give you different answers, they're going to say different things, and based on what you've seen about the prospects, so you've obviously got the list that you're calling, you can see that the prospects maybe in a certain sub niche of the industry that you're targeting, or maybe they're in a certain location. It's tailoring that script and using the script more as a guide based on what you already know about the prospect, and then based on their reception and how they're answering some of the stuff that you've said prior to your main part of the script. So prospects are going to say things that change how you should say the script, because For example, if a prospect says to you like they're not really interested in getting more leads at the moment, you can still help them if you have services around that. But you're going to have to change how you're doing the main pitch slightly differently. If it's mainly just based firmly on leads, and that's one of the core pillars of your service, then emphasize other areas more. Because like if a prospect outright told you they're not really interested in getting more leads, but you know you could still help them with other aspects of what you do, it doesn't make sense for you to go in and like hammer on the fact that you offer tons and tons of stuff regarding lead generation. So you want to adjust your script and you want to use it as a guide. Like because you don't want to sound scripted. That's the last thing you want to do when you're making a cold call. Honestly, it should just flow from you. You should have practiced it enough times for you to just make changes on the spot, depending on how the prospects responded, depending on the tiny little bit of research that you've done, depending on their sub niche, whatever that you've seen before. So you can almost just reel off. You have the script there, obviously you can see it, but you can add little things onto it depending on where the prospect is and depending on their feedback. So yeah, using the script as a guide is really important because it allows you to almost just be yourself more because you're not a robot. You're not just reading it off the script. You sound more authentic, you build more trust, and you can naturally it helps with your verbal dexterity, and you can end up presenting a solution from what you're saying that aligns a lot more with what they actually need in terms of solving their problems. That's everything for this video. There are 4 tips that really helped me get way better results when it came to cold calling. If you want more information about what we do, there's a link in the description. You can book a call with me to explore. Again, I have a full cold calling guide in the description where you can check out literally everything. I'll give you the systems for follow-ups. I'll give you my CRM. I'll give you all my systems. I'll give you tracking sheets and things like that. I'll give you the scripts I use. You can check that out in the description. It's entirely free. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.